Welcome back, Fanfield family. Today we're going to talk about the man that dreams of the stars, Cid Highwind. First though, just a quick note on the channel. I'd love to do this for a living, making videos for all of you, but as it stands, only around 77% of viewers are subscribed. If you haven't yet, please hit that big subscribe button down below the video, then hit the bell and choose all so you get notified whenever a video goes up. When you subscribe, you ensure that not only do you get notified whenever I upload, but you get the chance to be one of the first commenters, and you get to see polls and pictures and posts before anyone else. You can even help influence the channel by suggesting topics you'd like me to cover.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Alright. There's a new video every single week. With that out of the way, on to the video.
Get on with it!
Cid is immediately recognizable by his blue flight jacket, bright blonde hair, goggles strapped to his forehead, and omnipresent cigarette between his lips. He's prone to explosive bursts of anger, but, as evidenced by sacrificing his dream to save his assistant Shira, he has a good heart. Final Fantasy VII's character designer said that Cid was designed with working clothes in mind. He has no interest in fashion. This speaks to his personality. He's focused more on utility and the success of his objectives than looking flashy. In his first voiced appearance, Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, Cid had a subtle but distinctive Australian accent, which I really liked. It seemed like it fit him. In Rebirth, however, that's been swapped out for an American Southern accent. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I prefer his Aussie accent, but that could just be my love of nostalgia.
She's a beauty. My Shara, the latest model. I'll give you the grand tour afterward. Where to, folks?
Cosmo Canyon, please.
You talk? The hell kind of magic trick is this? Not that I ain't seen crazier shit on my travels.
Cid is a former member of Shinra. He worked with the company in the hopes that they could help him achieve his greatest dream, to go to
one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
While he always mistrusted Shinra, they were his best hope of achieving his dream. After years of testing, training, and prototyping, Shinra finally developed the Shinra No. 26, and Cid was chosen as the pilot, the first man in space. During the countdown, however, the engineers discovered that Cid's assistant, Shira, was still in the oxygen tank area, as the results on one of the oxygen tanks was not satisfactory. Despite knowing that if she remained where she was, she would be incinerated by the rocket's engines, she refused to leave, telling Cid that her life didn't matter as long as the launch was a success. As the countdown got closer and closer, Cid aborted the launch to save Shira's life. The next chance to launch was 6 months out, but before that, Shinra developed their technology to draw Mako energy from the planet, and the space program was abandoned entirely. A small town developed around the slightly leaning rocket, Cid's home, Rocket Town. I'm going to throw up a spoiler warning here. If you haven't played the game yet, skip to the timestamp on screen now to avoid the spoilers. As the threat of Sephiroth grew to world-destroying levels with the use of the black materia and the appearance of Meteor, Shinra had the idea to use the incredibly potent huge materia, loaded on the tip of the Shinra number 26 to create a massive materia bomb and blow Meteor out of the sky. When Cid heard about this, he was furious and set out with Cloud and the team to take his rocket back and do the mission himself. Cid expressed to Cloud that while he recognized the power of magic, materia, and the planet, he'd put his faith in science if he had to choose. Science had done so much, taking humanity from walking to flying to finally going into space. Once on board, Palmer, the director of Shinra's Space and Aeronautics Division, launched the rocket remotely, sending Cid and Cloud into space. Finally, Cid had achieved his dream. He made it. The rocket was set on an automatic course to hit Meteor, but Cid wasn't bothered. He finally had become the first man in space, and everything else was by the wayside. He told Cloud he didn't mind whether they kept the huge materia or used it to bomb Meteor, and with an escape pod on the rocket, it was a simple matter to leave before the impact. On the way to the escape pod, one of the oxygen tanks exploded, pinning Cid under the debris. Oxygen tank number 8, the one Shira had insisted wasn't giving proper readings all those years ago, and was willing to sacrifice herself to check, so that the mission would go off without any problems. Shira was right. Cid, having accomplished his dream, told Cloud to leave him and save himself, but Cloud insisted that he wouldn't abandon a friend. Despite Cloud's attempts, he couldn't get the wreckage of the tank off of Cid, until Shira, who had stowed away on the rocket, helped move the debris and the group made their way to the escape pod. Cid realized that every time he had lashed out at Shira in annoyance for her destroying his dream, every harsh word, every shout, he was wrong. This sparked an almost immediate change in him, and he not only apologized to Shira, but expressed confidence in her abilities, saying he was relieved that she had been the one to ensure the escape pod worked. The rocket's impact on Meteor's surface cracked the outer shell, but with the dark magic of the black materia, Meteor held together, still just as much of a threat. As Cid was sitting in the ocean in the escape pod, he came to a conclusion from his experience in space. The planet seems so big when you're on the ground, but from space you can see just how tiny it is. It's a little child, shivering in the vast universe, with Sephiroth infecting it like a sickness, and it was up to the team to cure that sickness. After the events of the game, Cid seems to have mellowed out a bit. He swears less, doesn't smoke as much, and shows much more empathy towards others, including naming his new airship after Shira, who is now his wife. Speaking of Shira, I'd like to address her briefly. Shira has always been one of my favorite side characters in Final Fantasy VII. While she doesn't actually say that she loves Cid, least of all to Cid himself, her actions speak volumes. The fact that she was willing to die if it ensured that Cid's dream would be achieved, her words to Cloud saying that she doesn't mind Cid's temper and that she'll live her life for him really shows just how much she adores him. She's been described as over-caring and is clearly both a sweet and intelligent woman, as she was one of the primary scientists working on developing and perfecting the rocket that Shinra planned to use to go to space. As a fan of Happily Ever Afters, I love that by the events of Dirge of Cerberus, which took place 3 years after the main story, Cid and Shira are married, with Cid displaying a fundamental change in personality, as well as showing affection the best way he knows how, naming his airship after her. Cid is a foul-mouthed, hot-tempered, chain-smoking, abrasive man and swears more than the rest of the party combined, usually censored with random symbols. He also has a handful of witticisms, such as telling the party that their ship is about to crash and to hold on to your drawers and don't piss in them. It's also clear that he doesn't always really mean his insults, it's just his way of communicating. This is evidenced very clearly when Cid is recruited to the party, and he calls Cloud and the team numbskulls for going up against Shinra, but adds that he likes the idea. Cid is a brilliant engineer, responsible for the designs of the tiny Bronco plane and the massive airship named after him, the Highwind. He's a pilot at heart, and loves nothing more than flying through the sky any way he can. Cid perfectly fits the Final Fantasy job description of a dragoon, the spear-wielding physical combat class. Cid uses spears, and many of his limit breaks involve powerful jumping attacks. His physical stats, attack and defense, are very high, while his magic stats are on the lower side. This means that he works very well as a frontline fighter, and is a solid choice for the cover materia, which allows the user to passively intercept enemy attacks aimed at other party members, which lets him protect physically weaker allies while also filling his limit gauge. Many of Cid's weapons grant double materia growth. We'll discuss materia in another video, meaning that magic that Cid has equipped will improve faster. Cid's ultimate weapon is the Venus Gospel, a gorgeous and ornate spear. Like most other ultimate weapons, it has 8 materia slots and no materia growth, but has impressive damage and, like Red 13's Limited Moon, does more damage the more full Cid's MP meter is. Cid's limit breaks are all damage-heavy attacks. Some strike one target, some strike all targets, and some strike random targets. As mentioned before, many of them are very dragoon-like, with jumping pounces. Cid's first level 1 limit is Boost Jump. He leaps into the air and, as he lands, stabs the enemy for 3 1/4 times normal damage. Cid's second level 1 limit is Dynamite. He lights a stick of dynamite with a cigarette, then throws it at the enemy, dealing 2 1/4 times normal damage to all targets. Cid's first level 2 limit is Hyper Jump. He leaps into the air and lands so hard that he causes an explosion, dealing 3 1/2 times normal damage to all enemies and has a 20% chance to inflict instant death, calculated separately for each enemy. Cid's second level 2 limit is Dragon. Cid summons a dragon spirit that attacks a single enemy for 1 1/4 damage and heals Cid's HP and MP by around 1/4 of the damage inflicted, capped at the enemy's current HP. So, for example, if the enemy's current HP is 1000, Dragon cannot heal more than 1000 HP and MP, no matter how much damage the attack does. Cid's first level 3 limit is Dragon Dive. Dragon Dive strikes 6 random enemies, dealing 1 7/16 normal damage to each, and has a 28% chance to inflict instant death. Cid's second level 3 limit is Big Brawl, which slashes 8 enemies at random, dealing 1 1/8 times normal damage per hit. Finally, Cid's final limit break is Highwind. Cid summons the Highwind airship to drop 17 missiles and one final energy blast, all on random enemies, each of the 18 hits inflicting 11/16 normal damage. Highwind, along with Barrett's level 3 limit Anger Max, has the greatest number of hits in a single attack, meaning that if damage is maxed out and only a single target is present, it has the potential to be the most damaging attack in the game, with just under 180,000 damage, even surpassing Cloud's Omnislash. Cid's gruff nature belies his good heart and his sharp mind. He was one of Shinra's most innovative engineers, and truly believes in the power of science over everything else, most evidenced by his explanation to Cloud late in the game of how much science matters to the world and to him personally. Cid, like the other party members, has several themes, and I'll play snippets of all of them here. The first of Cid's themes heard in game is called simply Cid's theme, and is a powerful, upbeat theme that really evokes that dream to conquer space. My favorite of Cid's themes is Launching a Dream into Space, and is a slightly slower, more elegant, more powerful version with an acoustic guitar in the opening, and given when it's first played, as Shira is telling the party about how Cid sacrificed his dreams to save her life, it carries a sadder, more somber note. Finally, the song played when the party is on board the Highwind, and, late in the game when it's in the air, the Highwind Takes to the Skies is a great energetic take on Cid's theme, though there are certainly elements of Cloud's theme in it, and it feels much more hopeful. I'd also like to mention an absolutely fantastic cover of Launching a Dream into Space by Osirwa Music, who has graciously allowed me to include their song in the video. Definitely go check their full video out, as well as their channel. They have absolutely amazing covers of all kinds of music. Normally, I'd take about a minute and a half of any song, but this is so incredibly sublime that I just couldn't justify cutting out any of it. I'll include links to both their cover of the song as well as directly to their channel in the description. Please, go check out their video. It's got this really amazing depiction of the Final Fantasy VII planet as a full globe, rather than the flat map we're used to. Cid's name, both first and last, is a recurring element in Final Fantasy games. There's almost always a Cid in most games, whether they're party members or side characters, and quite often a Highwind is present, such as Aranea Highwind in Final Fantasy XV, who also happens to be a dragoon. Further, Cid's name is directly descended from the Arabic word Said, which roughly translates as Lord or Master. Taken with his last name, he is the Lord of High Winds, the Master of the Sky, which ties into his love of flight and his dream to go to space. Cid's victory animation is less celebratory than other characters. Cloud swings his sword around before placing it on his back. Barrett pumps his fist in the air. Cait Sith jumps up in delight, all celebrating the victory. Cid's reaction to the party winning is much more like Aerith's, one of relief, as he visibly relaxes his stance and takes a drag on his cigarette. Cid, like many other Final Fantasy VII characters, has made appearances in other Final Fantasy games, usually as a support character or just a cameo, and has even appeared in Kingdom Hearts, serving as a merchant, engineer, and mechanic. Cid is, in my opinion, one of the more underrated characters in the game. He's funny, has a good heart, and is an excellent fighter for the party. What do you think of Cid? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. Next time we're going to cover the Man in a Black Cape, the One-Winged Angel, one of the most iconic villains in fictional history. If you enjoyed this, there's more on the way, so please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It takes 2 seconds for you and really helps the channel and me out. See you in the next one.